This is the philosophical foundations of the Sadharanikaran model of communication, part two. In the first part, we uh, focused on uh, trying to understand what Hinduism is, how that diversity and plurality is internalized as some sort of oneness, or commonality, and while trying to present Hinduism in a nutshell, then we focused on Patrata and Adhikar Veda, then three dimensions of life and four goals of human life, and through that we discussed so many other things, like even we focused on Paramatma or Brahma, or some may call it Ishvara, and Atma, then rebirth, that the issue of Punarjanma, and so on. So communication was obviously the binding thread for all of them. In this session, I start with the proposition. So that was let us say bigger picture, but when we come specifically to the Sadharanikaran model of communication, its worldview is generally based on Mimamsa and Advaita Vedanta, particularly the Sabdadvaita philosophies, what they are. Most of us already know, but yeah, I'll discuss in course of time. So the very first thing to begin, particularly with Sadharanikaran model of communication, is it is based on Hinduism, but as we discussed, Hinduism is so vast, so diverse, and so much of plurality is there. So of them, it primarily uh, draws on Natya Shastra and Vakyapadiya, that we already know. Those are the texts. But when we see philosophically, then we shall go to Mimamsa philosophy and Advaita Vedanta, particularly the Sabdadvaita. So while we start this discussion, there are three things to consider. First thing is about Natya Shastra. Though Natya Shastra is considered a neutral text, that means not subscribing to any particular philosophy, Bhattanayaka's Sadharanikaran theory draws on Sankhya and Mimamsa, particularly the Bhavana theory of Mimamsa philosophy. So, whenever we talk of Sadharanikaran model of communication, later on it will be elaborated more. First, there is Natya Shastra. Uh, Within Natya Shastra, there is a Rasa Sutra. Okay, that Rasa Sutra has been explained by different acharyas in different ways. One of them is Bhattanayaka. And while explaining the Rasa Sutra, Bhattanayaka gave the theory of Sadharanikaran. Okay, so to reach to Sadharanikaran model, first we need to know the theory of Sadharanikaran. And while constructing his theory, he drew on Sankhya and Mimamsa philosophy, and of them, particularly the Bhavana theory of Mimamsa philosophy, that we will discuss later on. So the first thing is why we are going to Mimamsa. So the explanation is here. And second thing is, Vakyapadiya, why Bhartrihari is a Sabdadvaita text. So it's a text like somebody would understand it as a text on linguistics. Some others would understand it as a text on philosophy of language. But from the spiritual point of view, it subscribes to Advaita philosophy. But this Advaita philosophy is different than the Advaita philosophy of Gaudapada and Acharya Shankara. Okay, later on as well we'll discuss about this. So uh, then third thing, and maybe more explicit while theorizing, is the creator of the Sadharanikaran model of communication has a declared embracement of Mimamsa and Vedanta philosophies in a continuum. So I have explicitly written in many of my writings that the worldview I subscribe is okay, rooted to Mimamsa and Vedanta philosophies in a continuum. Okay, I may analyze like different philosophical schools. Okay, in course of like study or analysis or as a teacher, we have to discuss a lot of things. But when it comes to like having own philosophical view or having own worldview, then it is Mimamsa and Vedanta philosophy in a continuum. So these three things, like uh, Bhattanayaka drawing on Mimamsa philosophy primarily, Bhavana theory while developing his theory, okay, and second thing, uh, Bhartrihari's text, okay, being primarily Advaita Vedanta text, and third thing, the researcher's theoretical framework being Mimamsa and Vedanta in a continuum. So that requires us to discuss those philosophies in order to understand the Sadharanikaran model of communication pertinently. Okay, that is what I wanted to share. Then we all know that when we talk about Mimamsa and Vedanta, then we shall know the broader spectrum. What is the broader spectrum? The broader spectrum is the six schools of philosophy. Whenever we say Hinduism, okay, as it was defined during the first session, it consists of consummation of Vedic and post-Vedic thoughts, okay, sects, and okay, rituals, uh, cultures, and so many things. But when we actually call Hinduism in the like orthodox sense, in the like mainstream Vedic sense, then there are six schools of philosophy. So Samkhya, okay, which is based on Kapila's Sankhya Sutra, yoga based on Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, Nyaya, which is based on Gautama's Nyaya Sutra, and Vaisheshika, which is based on Kanada's Vaisheshika Sutra, Mimamsa, which is also called Purva Mimamsa, which is based on Jaimini's Mimamsa Sutra, and finally Vedanta, or which is also called Uttara Mimamsa, which is based on Badarayana's Brahma Sutra. So if you can see, interestingly, all previous five philosophies and their sutra text, they have the similar name. Okay, so for Sankhya, there is Sankhya Sutra. For Yoga, there is Yoga Sutra. For Nyaya, there is Nyaya Sutra. For Vaisheshika, there is Vaisheshika Sutra. For Mimamsa, there is Mimamsa Sutra. But interestingly, for Vedanta, it is not called Vedanta Sutra. It is called Brahma Sutra. So, okay, then we can move ahead. So these six of these six, let us swiftly confine ourselves to Mimamsa and Vedanta, because if we discuss all of them, it will take a lot of time, and maybe they will like derail us from our focus as well. Since Sadharanikaran model of communication primarily subscribes to Mimamsa and Vedanta, then I have planned to discuss okay about them now. So under Mimamsa, as we already mentioned, Jaimini Sutra or Mimamsa Sutra is the primary text. Obviously, it is based on Veda and then Kalpa Sutra. Okay, Kalpa text. If you remember, there were six Vedangas, and one of them was Kalpa. So it has its root in Kalpa, obviously, including others as well. So Jaimini maybe like drawing on previous acharyas and previous tradition, because the word Mimamsa is mentioned in Vedic texts themselves, but he systematized that and came up with a sutra text. So all six schools, you have already noticed, they start with a particular sutra text, and okay, Jaimini developed the sutra text. So in Vedic tradition, what happens? First, the sutra text comes, then there will be a Vasya, then there will be Britti, and then there will be Tika. So these are different layers of like interpretations. Bhashya is also interpretation, but Vartik goes further, and Tika, it will be like more explanatory. So in case of Mimamsa philosophy, so Jaimini, he wrote the Sutra text, and it was Savara who wrote the Bhashya text. And after, so these are common. So the different schools which are mentioned here, they all will draw on Jaimini Sutra and Savara's Bhashya. So they are common to all. After that, after Savara's Bhashya, so Kumarila, sometimes called Acharya Kumarila Bhatta, and sometimes Tutat Bhatta. So so many different names he also have. So he came up with his Vartik texts like Shloka Vartik and Tantra Vartik. So this is just to mention that my PhD research was on Shloka Vartik and Tantra Vartik. So the texts I relied on were these two. Obviously, Savara's Bhashya and Jaimini's Sutra were there, and I did an interdisciplinary research consisting of Mimamsa philosophy and uh, communication theory. So Kumarila, and another is Prabhakara, and Murare's Tritiya Pantha, it is called. So Murari had a third school under this, but uh, Murari's text is not widely available. So, so many writers, they had already written that Murari's text went to oblivion. So it is not available. Even that was written, but later on, in National Archive of Nepal, they reported that they have Murari's text. So Murari's text is also existing there, but even I haven't read that text because it is yet to be published widely. So Prabhakara, some texts are available, but the most influential Mimamsaka is Kumarila, because his extensive works are still available. Not only that, in his school of thought, so many other scholars like Partha Sarathi Mishra and others, they have written extensively. And for those who have legal background, it may be interesting that the Dharma Sindhu and Nirnaya Sindhu, such texts which are like referred for Hindu law, they were also written by the scholars in the tradition of Kumarila. So of three schools of Mimamsa, whenever we say Mimamsa philosophy these days, it is actually the Bhatta school of Mimamsa philosophy. So, okay, is there any queries or any feedback till now? Okay, I'm taking a moment for that.
I can you hear me, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, because I kept losing the internet. Primarily, what is Mimamsa focusing on?
So, whenever we say Mimamsa, okay, so like Mimamsate, Mimamsayami, like this. So, if it is used in this casual sense, then it will mean to discuss on something, to think on something, to analyze something, like that. But when we say Mimamsa properly for the particular school of philosophy, then it is a philosophy which focuses on dharma. Later on as well, I have given a comparison. So Athato Dharma Jigyasa is the first sutra of Mimamsa.
Oh,
So since all other goals of human life, okay, according to like mainstream Vaidika philosophy, they stem from dharma, or they are also guided by, or they are attained uh, through dharma. That is why dharma is the primary thing, not only for Hinduism, even for Buddhism and Jainism. Okay, I think I mentioned this in the first session as well. Dharma is the essence. So, but while the philosophical schools were developed, okay, they had their own focus. Like Sankhya, it also deals so many about so many things, but Sankhya is now, okay, especially remembered for its cosmology, okay, and it's like cause and effect uh, relationship, that analysis. So the emphasis on prakriti and purusha, and how, okay, the world manifested pancha mahabhuta, all these things, okay. So though it also considers the supremacy of Veda, okay, that is why it is put under Vedic philosophy. But the way Mimamsa and Vedanta actually completely based on Veda, and they consider each and every word of Veda as authority. So you may not find that in case of Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, and Vaisheshika. So like for Vaisheshika, the emphasis was on what we can say, ontology, in like modern sense. So so those philosophies, those they were based on Veda, they were not actually like talking about the Vedas. So, and there were other philosophies like Sarvaka, who was like straightly denouncing the Vedas, isn't it? And the Buddhism and Jainism, they had their own like tradition. So what happened in the society, there was a time when the authority of the Vedas were challenged, and the what was called the Vaidika tradition, okay, that was uh, that was challenged from different quarters. So Jaimini thought to establish the authority of the Vedas, okay. For him to establish the authority of the Vedas, it was pertinent to let the people know what dharma is in a pertinent way. That is why he started with the dharma. And the basic argument he did was, I would like to put it in a very simple way. Okay, for worldly matters, okay, you can get information from the senses, okay, from the sensory organs. And if you don't find something like from the sensory organs, maybe you can use logic, or you can have analogy, comparison, contrast, and so on. But what he argues is, after a limitation, there will be certain matters where you cannot get knowledge from the senses, and even for the logic, from analogy, and so on. So in that case, then you have to rely on such a source which is errorless, okay. And which can be an errorless text? Only such text which is authorless. If a text has an author, then the author, the human being, certainly has some limitation. As the human being has limitation, his or her creation would certainly have limitation. So then, through arguments, okay, he establishes that Vedas are of Paurushas, like not created by anyone. Since they are not created by anyone, they are free from all human limitations. Okay, they are free from errors. So for the worldly matters, for the empirical things, okay, go as far as you can go, okay, use your senses and your logic and all these things. But where you cannot find answer to all those, then you rely on Vedas, and Vedas being authorless, okay, Shruti, they will give you true knowledge. So then what was the duty then? Okay, he shall make the people understanding the Vedas, because according to his proposition, without understanding the Vedas, nobody would understand the dharma. So hence, though he started with dharma, okay, so the actual purpose for Jaimini was to provide some basis for the interpretation of the Vedic mantras. Okay, but later on, and while doing so, let me mention one more thing. While doing so, he used yajnas as the like field of application. Okay, he was actually dealing a theory. Okay, so but while discussing that, the examples he gave were from yajnas. Why? Because yajnas were so popular at that time, and people would readily understand if you give example from that domain. Like in today's context, maybe we shall give examples from social media, information technology. Okay, like this, even in many cases from politics or economics. So what kind of society you are living in, based on that you draw examples. So for Jaimini, the most familiar process was yajna, and that is why he took examples from there. And that okay, gave some confusion to others as well. Okay, for a large time period, many people thought Mimamsa just as a ritualistic text. Okay, whenever you read any book written by the either Westerners or even Indians and Nepalis, but who are trained in Western okay way, so they will equate Mimamsa to rituals. But what actually they miss is rituals, that yajna, that was taken just as an example, and there are like theoretical or philosophical things that he was actually discussing. So so Mimamsa came in that way. But later on, as I mentioned, in basic tradition of philosophy, first sutra text would come, then bhashya would come. While doing bhashya, then the bhashyakara, the person who does the bhashya, will relate with the contemporary society. Okay, then in Vartika it goes further, and while Kumarila was writing Vartika, then okay, there was fierce debate, that shastrartha, between uh, Vedic philosophy, Buddhist philosophy, and Jaina philosophy. And to be honest, the Vaidika philosophers, they were like in a losing side at that time, just before Kumarila. Okay, after Buddha and Mahavira became so influential. Okay, the Vaidika philosophy, it went to defensive. And by the time, okay, Kumarila was there, okay, Vaidika philosophy, many at that time would claim that it was okay on the deathbed. So when he actually wanted to revive that Vaidika philosophy, Vaidika dharma, then he had okay, the most influential were Buddhists and then Jainis. So he had that other philosophies, okay, in his mind. So to become triumphant over them, so he had to work extensively on epistemology. Okay, so that is why Kumarila's epistemology is considered the most developed epistemology in Bharatvarsa. So after Kumarila's that Sloka Vartika and Tantra Vartika, and then he fully developed his Pramana system, and then he went for Shastrartha. There are many stories behind that. Some of them are very funny. So some of uh, them are yet to be examined. But what is well established, after the defeat in front of Kumarila, Buddhism and Jainism, they could never revive in this continent. Okay, Buddhism is spread to other places. Okay, Jainism. Okay, it became a minor like uh, group in the society. It is still surviving, and they have very rich, very extensive like philosophical tradition, and they, as compared to like the population of Jaina people, the number of texts, okay, it's amazing. They have so many. Like Buddhists, they were also like so prolific in writing, so influential in the society. But after the great Shastrartha, okay, by Kumarila, then that was the like in a way the final nail on the coffin, what is called. And okay, Shankara, actually Shankara developed his metaphysics based on Kumarila's epistemology. So, for the time being, I'm keeping this much, and later on I'll come back to this. So, there are okay, three different schools of Mimamsa. But whenever we say Mimamsa these days, actually we mean Kumarila's school, because for Murari, okay, there were no followers. Even for Prabhakara, very few, and his school ceased to attract new philosophers. Uh, and then Kumarilas, in Kumarila tradition, okay, so many genius philosophers came, and they worked in different, okay, disciplines, including poetics, grammar, even what is called okay, law these days, and obviously dharma shastras, so many. So if we go to Mimamsa side, okay, Uttara Mimamsa side, then even under Vedanta there are different schools. So Badrayana's sutra is considered common to all. Actually, they have the very concept of Prasthanatrayi. Prasthanatrayi means, okay, three foundational texts. So the first foundational text would be Upanishad, second would be Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and the final third one would be Badrayana's Brahma Sutra. So they are common to all. But while interpreting things, so there are actually five mainstream Vedanta schools, and okay, the sixth one came much later. Okay, so first one is the Advaita school, which was initiated by Gaudapada. But okay, we know the Advaita darshan due to Acharya Shankar these days. So whenever we talk of Advaita, then we remember Gaudapada and Shankara. Another is called Dvaita Dvaita, which is okay, based on Acharya Nimbarka's interpretation of obviously Srimad Bhagavad Gita and other texts. Then there is Visishtadvaita, okay, which is credited with Acharya Ramanuja, and another is Dvaita, which is okay, uh, mm, credited with Acharya Madhva, and okay, Suddhadvaita is okay identified with Acharya Vallabha. So whenever people talk of Vedanta, they instantly remember these five schools. However, for Sadharanikaran model of communication, okay, not the Advaita of Gaudapada and Shankara. Actually, the primary resource is Bhartrihari's uh, Advaita. So while doing Sanchar Yoga, even Upanishad and okay, in that way, Gaudapada's and Shankara's interpretation of Advait is also there. But when Sadharanikaran model itself was developed, the Advait Vedanta darshan, the Advait Vedanta philosophy, it drew on was based on okay, Bhartrihari. So which is mentioned in the next slide. So after okay, these five. So Bhartihari is Sabdadvaita. So here, okay, it is also Advait. Whenever we say Advait, then there is like identification or oneness of the Brahman and the Atman. The self and the supreme self, they become one. To put it very simply, okay. So, but he gives the interpretation by taking Sabda as Brahman. So in Veda itself, there is mention of Sattvari Vak. So para Pasyanti Madhyama Vaikari. But Bhartihari, since he was okay concerned with the Jivan Mukti, so here the moksha has two dimensions according to Hinduism. One is Jivan Mukti, which is moksha in life. Like you might have heard about King Janaka, who is also called Videha. So he like Jada Bharata and there are so many others which are referred as Jivan Mukta. So they had attained moksha while okay being in the body. So there is one famous text by Swami Vidyaranya which is called Jivan Mukti Viveka. If you read that text, there he presents an outline of like characteristics of a Jivan Mukta. Okay, so but another is Videha Mukti after like demise of this body. So Bhartrihari, while he was like writing that Vakya, he was more concerned with this Jivan Mukti. That is why he does not start with Para. Actually, he starts with Pasyanti, then goes to Madhyama and Vaikari. Since we have a whole session on Bharatiya Vakya, so I'm leaving to this much for today, and we will come back to this. So till now, what I said is okay. So under Vaidika system, there are six philosophical schools. Of them, the Sadharanikaran model of communication actually draws on Mimamsa, which is also called Purva Mimamsa, and then Vedanta, which is also called Uttara Mimamsa. It draws on these two, and while mentioning that, I try to give like a sketch of like what we mean by Mimamsa. So by Mimamsa here we mean a philosophical tradition rooted to Jaimini's Mimamsa Sutra, but obviously developed by Kumarila Bhatta. And why Vedanta? Okay, we mean to that philosophical tradition which is based on Upanishads, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, actually interpretation of that text, and then obviously Brahma Sutra by Vadrayana. But okay, of them, Bhartrihari's school is actually okay embraced by the Sadharanikaran model of communication. This much I discussed so far. So is there anything you would like to add, or okay you have a query? Then we can have a brief discussion here as well. Then we will go further to find the common ground.
Can we say, sir, then among the different darshanas, Mimamsa is uh, the format in which there is more of a dialogue, a discussion, and uh, more about understanding perception and all that?
So actually, when we say philosophy, okay, even in our case, darsana. So, by virtue of being a darsana, all of them must have their own epistemology. They must have ontology. I'm talking in modern terms, okay? They must have cosmology. They must have principle of ethics. They must have some axiology, okay? Moral, like reasoning, moral values, all these things. And they also must have even aesthetics and obviously metaphysics. Okay, so what happens? But what happens? Certain philosophies, they excel on certain things. Like they have all components, but okay, for certain thing they will have a masterpiece. Like if you say Vaisheshika philosophy, it also has its own like epistemology, ontology, metaphysics, cosmology, ethics, all. But in due course of time, it is its ontology which is considered like excelling over other components. Okay, so generally, what they used to do, philosophers of different schools, they would have intensive discussions. Okay, Shastrartha. Maybe the Sutrakaras, they were having like uh, their thoughts in their isolation. Okay, maybe in that sense, the Sutra Granthas, Sutra texts may have different opinions. But in due course of time, okay, since due to the discussion, Shastrartha, okay, the latter day philosophers, they had to devise new ways to refute others, or while doing so, they used to get influenced by others as well. So it goes hand in hand, isn't it? So you want to refute others, but to refute others, you need to learn about them. So, like in a courtroom, like if the lawyers are representing two sides, though they are two different sides, though individually he or she may be representing this side only, but to refute the another side, okay, you need to actually study about the case from another side's perspective as well. So in due course of time, what happens, you also come to know much about another party as well. So same happened in Shastra. So like if one was follower of Samkhya, but he or she needed to learn about yoga, nyaya, vaisheshika, mimamsa, and vedanta. Like if one was vedanta follower, even in that case, he or she has to learn other things as well. And while doing so, if they realize that, okay, another philosophy has excelled in certain matters, then they would not hesitate to adapt that. So this is how there were influence of this philosophy to that to that. Okay, this is how it went on. But what happened? The fresh minds joined much more to Mimamsa and Vedanta. Okay, there is still continuation of like yoga tradition as well. But if you see the yoga tradition, they have more focused on the physical asanas and breathing and all these things. Okay, so as compared to Mimamsakas and Vedantins, there are less texts by yoga followers on the core issues of philosophy. Same was the case. Like in case of Sankhya Sutra, the first Sankhya Sutra by Kapila is not available. It is the Sankhya Karika by Vijnana Bhikshu, if I remember his name correctly. Okay, that is available now. So you can see even the original text is not available. That means the tradition, the philosophical tradition has ceased to exist. It is living only by discussion by others. But this Mimamsa and Vedanta, they they have been like getting people, new generation after generation. Okay, people are coming and okay reading the primary text, and they are coming up with new and newer prakarana texts on like Mimamsa and Vedanta. And while doing so, the practical aspects, okay, they are also emphasized. And if people practice some philosophy, obviously it will live in the society. So what has happened? So all philosophies have all dimensions, but today if we see, Mimamsa is mostly remembered for its extensive, very rich, highly standardized, and very powerful epistemological system. And Vedanta, it has influenced the minds of people, okay, for its metaphysical view. So whenever people think of like moksha, okay, and dharma, not in the sense of like Vaidika system. In that case, it would encompass all things, but dharma in the sense of doing some uh, good things so that you can have like a better future in another life, or like even the post-mortem situation. For that, people have mostly subscribe to Vedanta. So that is why Mimamsa is known for its like hermeneutics, its logic. Though there is one philosophy which would especially like specialize on logic, Nyaya philosophy. But Mimamsa's logic is what actually influencing the people. Okay, so like as I told you, it gives examples of yajna, and okay, the grand yajnas may not be like being practiced today, but people have some sense of like we shall have yajna, all these things. So due to that sense only, so the Mimamsa has become much closer to the people. So Mimamsa is known for traditions that guide our like even the how to regulate our properties, okay, how it shall be handed over to generations, okay. So for that as well, and even for the how text shall be interpreted, okay, that hermeneutics and interpretative paradigm, that for that as well. And to large extent, okay, Mimamsa as well as Vedanta, they have influenced the poetics, okay, aesthetics, all these things. And in the domain of ethics, okay, what is called Hindu ethics is today primarily based on Mimamsa. People may know or may not, okay, it is not necessary that they all would know Jaimini, Sabara, or Kumarila. They haven't even heard of their names, okay. The most heard name would be obviously Shankaracharya, okay. But even Shankaracharya, he fully subscribes to Humarila's view when it comes to the epistemological matter, or theory of knowledge. So what we can say, so they have different subject matters, but okay, Mimamsa, if we go by its sutra, it is known for its interpretation of dharma. That means, okay, all rituals, ethics, okay, duty, even the handling the properties, and even having the interrelationship between family members and the okay community members, all these things will be guided by Mimamsa, knowingly or unknowingly. So for metaphysical things like devotion, okay, for bhakti and okay, talking about moksha, all these things, though even Mimamsa text also discusses that, but people are more influenced by Vedanta. Okay, all these because of these Vaishnava schools and Saiva schools, okay, they have extensive, okay, impact in the society. That is why all of these six darsanas are Vaidika darsana and have been influencing the Hindu society in various ways. Of them, Mimamsa and Vedanta have more influence. That is what, okay, I'd like to okay emphasize here. Now going to the next slide. Mimamsa draws on Vaisheshika philosophy for its prameya. So whenever we say Mimamsa and Vedanta, it is not that previous four philosophical schools will be alienated or isolated. No, they are also there. Like one through this Shastrartha, action and reaction, okay, and then there are synthesis. So and Mimamsa has some common grounds with Samkhya too, like the nature of Atman, okay, the plurality of the society, even the some sort of okay this duality. Dualism is what Sankhya goes for. So what Mimamsa does for the worldly affairs, it considers dualism, but for the like moksha, it considers non-dualism, Advaita. So it finally balances between Sankhya and Vedanta. Next. So, Vedanta, okay, Uttara Mimamsa fully embraces the pramanas of the Purva Mimamsa philosophy. So, now we can see how Mimamsa, okay, draws on Vaisheshika philosophy, and it also has some commonality with Sankhya philosophy. Okay, so Mimamsa is sometimes called Nyaya. There is Nyaya philosophy, but since Mimamsa also has very extensive like logic system, so it has like the parallel system which can be comparable to Nyaya philosophy as well. Okay, and there has been a lot of like shastrartha between yoga philosophy and Mimamsa philosophy as well. So through that, when Vedanta finally comes, okay, uh, it takes, okay, it fully embraces the pramanas of the Purva Mimamsa philosophy. What are they? We will discuss. So embracing Mimamsa and Vedanta in a continuum is significant. Okay, this is what the Sadharanikaran model of communication does, and why it is so important. Because this embracement provides a clear understanding of Patrata and Adhikar Veda. Okay, otherwise, if we don't take both of them together, then the three-dimensional explanation, okay, may not be complete. And since we have three dimensions of our life, obviously we have tapatra, or we have uh, abhyudaya, okay, adhibhautik, adhyaivik, adhyatmic, okay, three abhyudaya. So to understand these things, what shall be done? This adhikar veda, what I can do, what I shall not do, okay, how, from what I shall be neutral, okay. So all these, for these knowledge, this, if we embrace Mimamsa and Vedanta in a continuum, not as binaries, not even separate entities, then okay, it will better equip us to understand these things. Then okay, so three dimensions and four goals of human life are naturally constituted. They are not complementary, they are not auxiliary, but they will come in a continuum. All are important. It is only the matter of what is the point of reference, what you are actually looking for, what you prioritize for the time being. Okay, so it will be according to the priority of the patra, okay, individual. What shall be discussed more? Okay, whether it shall be like adhibhut, that is the physical thing, or adhidaiva, that is mental thing, or adhyatma, spiritual thing. But okay, when Mimamsa and Vedanta are put together in a continuum, then the system would naturally constitute all of these. And then, if you remember, Adhikar, Veda, and Patrata was the first thing when we discussed in the first session the essentials of Hinduism. Then second one is this three-dimensional life, and okay, four goals of life, that is also ensured. And another thing we discussed was the continuum approach, which makes Hinduism okay unique as compared to like Semitic philosophical schools or religions, and even like modern day materialists. Okay, so the continuum approach uh, ensures we give pertinent importance to body, mind, and the soul, uh, Sarira, Man, and the Atman. And obviously, okay, Atma and Paramatma, they are one, but it is due to Lila or creation, we may say, they are perceived as different, or they are experienced as different. But when the final like attainment would be there, then there will be oneness. So this continuum approach is in fact inherent to uh, Vaidika texts themselves. And to show that, I have given a sloka there. So avidyayam mritim tirtva vidyaya mritam asnuti. Okay. Vidyam sa avidyam sa. So ubhaya. Both of them shall be embraced. Okay. So what is avidya? Anybody can contribute. What is avidya according to Hinduism?
Sir, it is ignorance, I think.
Uh, okay, I have also seen many translating avidya as ignorance. Okay, but the proper meaning would not be represented by that word ignorance. Okay, so for them, why they said ignorance? Okay, vidya was knowledge, and okay, so they wanted to have by that or prefix, they wanted to go to antonym of that. Okay, that is why they put ignorance. But
So
here,
there is a error in knowledge, can we say?
so avidya is the material knowledge, the knowledge on let us say manifested things. Okay, so the knowledge on, you can go to uh, that avidyayam mritim tirtva. Oh, this one. Okay, okay, vidya, no, earlier this vidyam cha vidyam cha estad vedo bhayam sah avidyaya mritim tirtva vidyaya mritam asnuti. Okay, vidyam sa avidyam cha, vidya as well as avidya. So ubhayam estad veda ubhayam saha. So both of them, ubhayam is okay, both. How? Avidyaya mritim tirtva. So this avidya will help us to conquer over death. That means, okay, it is related to life. So this only matters if you go to study physics, then you are studying an avidya. So it doesn't have negative connotation. Originally, when you go to Vedic context, avidya and vidya, they are just two different categories. Not like modern writers who have put avidya as ignorance. Okay, they also are source of knowledge. Even avidya is source of knowledge, but what kind of knowledge? Knowledge about the artha. Okay, and when we say vidya, it is knowledge about moksha. So until and unless like it is considered in Hinduism, nobody can attain moksha without this body. So body is necessary condition to attain moksha. So avidya is necessary condition to reach to vidya. So this is the foundation. So this thing you can compare with the emphasis given by Mimamsakas to pratyaksha pramana, direct sense perception. That is primary. They are not negating that. But okay, that is not sufficient. That is the only thing. So since that is not sufficient, then you go for the another category. Okay, of to Sabda Praman. So here, like avidya is also essential, but it is not sufficient. It is necessary, but not sufficient. So this is the logical statement. Okay, this is necessary, but not sufficient. So that is why it is from Ishavasya Upanishad, okay, which is very authentic one of the earliest. Many say this is the earliest one, or at least it can be said it is one of the earliest Upanishads. So the actual rishis who were like the seers, who were the mantra drashtas, they were actually involved with this Isavasya Upanishad. That is why its authenticity in Vedic philosophy, in Vedic tradition of thought is well established. And it says, Vidyansa Vidyansa Estadavedo Bhayam Saha Avidyaya Mritim Tirtva Vidyaya Mritam Asmute. So this approach, taking like this physical, mental, as well as spiritual in a continuum, not putting them as binaries, antonyms. So this is ensured when we embrace Mimamsa and Vedanta, or we may say Vedanta as a whole, or it is represented as Uttara Mimamsa. So that means Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa, or in brief, we can say the Mimamsa view would ensure that. In the next slide, uh, okay, this Saridayata philosophy. The Sadharanikaran model of communication is centered around this Saridayata, or rooted to Saridayata. So it also has its Vedic root, like Samani wa akutihi, Samana Ridayani wa Samanamastu o Manu Yatha wa Susahasati. This is from Rig Veda. Okay. And Saridayam Samanasya Vidyasam Krunomi Vaha Anyo Anyamavi Haretavasam Datamivadnya. This is from Atharvaveda. So this Saridayata, Saridaya comes from Samana Ridaya. So Samana Ridayani Vaha, that is mentioned in Rig Veda. And when you go to Atharvaveda, Saridayam is obviously there. So since we will be discussing about Saridayata in detail later on, I'm just mentioning it here. So what actually is called, when we embrace, when we employ this Mimamsa and Vedanta philosophy together, then it will ensure embracement of the basic worldview of Hinduism. That means what actually Vedika philosophy, Vedika tradition would represent, that can be ensured by embracing Mimamsa and Vedanta. So at this point, I would like to again uh, have some time for your discussion if you wish. Otherwise, yeah, we can go further.
Sir, when you said that avidya is more about artha, it is
Yes,
also necessary. Uh,
yes, yes,
so,
yes,
of course, the general idea is about attaining moksha only.
yeah.
But when we are talking in terms of communication, in terms of understanding, uh, what is the impact of understanding avidya?
Because this is the beginning. Without identifying the communicating parties. Okay, identifying, like you and me, we all are communicating. The first and foremost thing is identification of the communicating parties. I'm aware of that. I'm communicating with you. You are aware of the fact that you are communicating with me, and yeah, others. So this consideration of the existence is what, okay, that draws on this physical world, isn't it? Though we are now connected virtually, but this is also like extension of the physical world, isn't it? So that is why in Vaidika system, whenever one talks about like e- even the God, okay, even the concept of like Sukha, okay, even the concept of like Swarga, whatever, it always starts with some object, some physical thing. Okay. So like Agni Agni Mire Purohitam. From Agni, it starts. The very first mantra starts with Agni. And whenever we say Agni, the first and foremost thing is this physical fire we remember. Okay, now then we go to different forms of Agni. Like even there is the concept of Jasharagni. Okay, what we eat and which is consumed by some power, that power is called Jasharagni. Even isn't it? Like the mental power, it is also the thinking power. This is Medhagni, Medha Agni. Okay, so this is also Agni. So so we start with the physical, then we go to like this subtle, and finally we consider, okay, there is something beyond, there is this like essence. Like even later on as well we will discuss. Let us take the concept of rasa. Okay, rasa, the concept of rasa comes from the physical thing. Okay, whenever we think like some food. Okay, so our mouth will be like, if it is very tasty food, okay, some sort of rasa we will feel even now, though we haven't eaten it. And while eating, obviously we taste that, we relish that. And next level of rasa is mental rasa, like Sringar rasa, isn't it? So then the ultimate rasa is like in Taittiriya Upanishad, raso vaisaha. The Paramatman is also rasa. So the Paramatman is also can be like realized, experienced. So in in Hindu worldview, everything has these three dimensions: Sthula, Sukshma, and Karana. Okay, physical, mental, and the spiritual. That is why in communication as well, the starting point shall be the physical mechanisms used for communication. So the human beings, okay, engaged in the communication process, the channels or the technology used for that communication, the message, okay, obviously that would come in the form of codes or signification. Okay, so that also has like some tangible existence. So this emphasis on existence is very powerful in Hinduism. That is why, okay, so first thing shall be the physical things. That is why avidya is what. Okay, so it is just like in English there is one tradition, like when we say verbal and non-verbal. Okay, or like Hindus and non-Hindus. So the first one is identified due to its quality, isn't it? Verbal means when we use words for communication, that is verbal. Then when we put that non, then it doesn't denote any quality. The only one thing it says is, okay, other than this, the most visible one we have already identified, and all remaining would be put under this. Okay, so for example, if we say Hindus and non-Hindus, maybe in Hindu majority country, Hindus would be first mentioned, and all remaining would be okay, treated together, just like that. In Hinduism, since moksha was considered the ultimate goal, it was given much importance, and the Shastra related to moksha was first named as Vidya. And what to do then about so many numerous Shastras? Then, okay, they put that prefix O. Avidya here means, okay, all others than Vidya. So it is only for this purpose this avidya came. But sometimes the prefix or negates some meaning in some other cases, so people got confused. That was the only matter. Otherwise, always vidya is put higher. This is the ultimate, no doubt. But the beginning would be, the foundation would be avidya, like physics, chemistry, okay, dramaturgy, metallurgy, whatever. So avidya was put firstly, and then came vidya, but to have all goals fulfilled. This is what Isavasi Upanishad is saying. Vidyam cha vidyam, vidya cha avidya cha. So both shall be embraced but pertinent. Okay. For body, body will follow its dharma. For mind, mind will follow its own dharma, not body's dharma. And the Atma, it will obviously follow its own dharma. So when we have the very concept of dharma pertinently, then we come to know, okay, dharma is not always sadharan dharma. Sadharan dharma means dharma in general, which is applicable to all. But dharma is vishesha dharma as well. Dharma, contextual dharma. Okay. So according to patrata and adhikar bheda, different people will have different dharma then. So some are sadharan dharma, like in Shiksha Balli, it is said satyam vada, dharma chara, swadhyayan ma pramada. So these are common to all. That is why these are said sadharan dharma. But the dharma of a lawyer and the dharma of the teacher, if you want to have explicit examples, obviously they will be different. So this is why this proper understanding of, okay, dharma has been highly emphasized by Mimamsa philosophy. For them, it is only right understanding of dharma that will lead you to right understanding of Veda. And the right understanding of Veda will lead us to attainment of Purusartha Chatushtaya. And that attainment will be by, in a way, balancing avidya and vidya. Because some of the things we have, they are the matter of avidya. Like if we have some disease, physical disease, then this is the property of the body, property of the physical world. So we must know that. And if it is like some mental, let us say, problem, and as well as sometimes mental, happiness or various good things are also there. So if we have to understand them, then we shall go to that dimension. Like Natya Shastra extensively discusses about rasa swadhana. Okay, but in Ayurveda, the same word rasa swadhana would have a different meaning in Ayurveda. In Ayurveda, it will be like tasting sweet, salt, yeah, like short rasas. 6 rasas are there. But in Natya Shastra, there are 8 rasas. They are mental rasas. Okay, like Sringara rasa and others. But in the Upanishads, rasa has a different meaning. Rasa is actually, okay, experiencing the Paramatma. Okay, oneness of Atma and Paramatma is rasa there, rasa swadhyaya. So same thing has different meanings. That is why always starting from the physical one, avidya one. Okay, so I think for many people following Hinduism extensively, this thing will be shocking, because what they have heard of avidya is in a different context. Like there is another word like mithya, brahma satyam jagat mithya. Many people would equate mithya with falseness. Okay, so Brahma is only truth, but the world is not. But if we go to standard, like Mimamsa and Vedanta text, that is not the right interpretation. So mithya there is something which is always changing. Okay. So the world is always changing. So why Brahma, Satyam, Jagat, Mithya? What the original philosophers they wanted to say? Okay, it is only the Brahman which is unchangeable, which is eternal. Okay, all other things they do change. Even like slight moment. Okay, like 1,000th part of a second. If we even go to that, the world is changing. So since it is so fast changing, it is always wise to know more about the eternal thing, because that will be useful. You learned it 10 years ago and it will be useful even for today. So it is wise thing. And if something which is changing even within a bit of second, then even if you want to understand this you may not understand. So focus on just to that extent what is essential for your livelihood, for your daily life, okay, for living in this world. No only this much, but your focus shall be on those things which are eternal. So that is why in some context vidya was more emphasized than avidya. But in Hinduism, avidya was not denounced originally. It was not thought not necessary. It is necessary but not sufficient. So so to go further, why I as a theorist have embraced Mimamsa and Vedanta in a continuum has more grounding. Okay, so why? Because in Hindu tradition, Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa are considered part of a complete Shastra. That is why they are called Purva and Uttara. And hence there is well established practice to put them together in a continuum. So what actually I'm arguing here, whenever you are supposed to represent a civilization, okay, of philosophy, you can you can have progressive thoughts on it, okay, but it shall be statodynamic, means you also shall be rooted to the, okay, original thought, or uh, the indigenous thing. What shall be there must be there. Okay, so you can progress, you can go ahead, you can further develop, but there must be the connectedness to the root. If you deroot, okay, if you are disconnected from the root, then okay, then it is not the continuation of that tradition. So that is why all these things have been discussed. So this consideration, this embracement of these philosophies simultaneously is not something new. That is what I am telling. Okay, so by this, okay, interpreting these things in the domain of communication is the new contribution, you can say. But while doing so, it is not that, okay, it is completely detached from the original thought. It is well grounded to that, because it is well practiced to take them as complete Shastra. The Sanskrit word is Krishna Shastra. Uh, then, while taking them together, uh, so these two sutras or slokas or sentences are very important. One is Vyavahare Bhattanayaha. So this is widely, okay, told by Vedantins. Vyavahare Bhattanayaha. This sutra is famous among the Vedanta followers. What does it mean? Bhattanayaha means what Kumarila Bhatta says, or the path of, or the philosophy of Kumarila Bhatta. So in the Vyavaharika matters, like practical aspects. So if you go to law, Isn't it a practical thing? It is. If you go to political science, isn't it a practical thing? It is. If you go to economics, isn't it a practical thing? It is. So, in all such things like hermeneutics, interpreting the text, it is also a practical thing. So, what the Vedanta followers say, Vyavahare Bhattanaya. So, whenever there is some debate, discussion on like rituals, on culture, on uh, this economic system, governance, all these things. So, who's even like epistemology, even ontology, what will be the like guiding principle? So it will be the philosophy of Kumarila Bhatta. And what the Mimamsakas then say? They would say, Kurbana Shatma Mimamsa Vedantoktena Vartmana. Okay, whenever you have to do Atma Mimamsa, that means that means thoughts on Atma. That means okay, any discussion on moksha, that shall draw on Vedanta. Are you getting the point? So they are acknowledging each other. So the Vedanta people would say, okay, though we emphasize more on this moksha dimension, not on Maya, our priority is on Brahma. But we are living in this world. We also have a body, isn't it? We also have a mind. We have our property. We have so many substances. So while understanding this, we also base on Bhatta, Kumarila Bhatta, the philosophy of Kumarila Bhatta. And here Mimamsaka says, okay, by tradition we have been talking about the yajnas, rituals, and this science of interpretation, various upholding the shastras, all these things. But when it comes to the final goal of our life, we also subscribe to Vedanta. So whenever it comes about mokshas, the Mimamsakas would start reading from Athato Brahma Jigyasa, which is the first sutra of Brahma Sutra, Vedanta philosophy. And the Vedanta followers, whenever they try to understand the nature of Dharma, they would obviously go to Jaimini Sutra or Mimamsa Sutra, which starts with Athato Dharma Jigyasa. So, in modern context, it can be said that this continuum approach draws primarily on Purva Mimamsa for epistemology and Uttara Mimamsa for metaphysics. That is what I have been telling. And the Sadharanikaran model of communication also embraces this. Mimamsa Sutra starts with Athato Dharma Jigyasa. That means it has excelled on Dharma, and Brahma Sutra starts with Athato Brahma Jigyasa. So it has excelled on this. That is why there is mutual cooperation, win-win situation. Okay. Like we also do in our day-to-day life as well. If one of our friends has some specialty, we will give priority to him or her for that aspect, but for another thing we will give priority to another person for another aspect. So this practical approach has been practiced by these philosophers as well. And I also by like my family tradition, you may say, or by virtue of my education, not this formal education, but the education I got at home by my father. So I also got opportunity. I was very fortunate to grow with such background. So in formal schools and colleges, I studied science. Then mass communication and journalism, English, then okay, philosophy, all these things, and literary theories, research methodology, all these things. But at home, okay, I was exposed to the very, in a way, you can say, the Gurukula essence of education. So I have always tried to balance between these two, and the, in a way, you can see the result is the Sadharanikaran model of communication. This continuum approach considers dharma's primary role for defining patrata and adhikar bheda, whereas moksha is considered the highest goal of life. Thus, a well defined process of communication must be envisioned that shall illustrate a successful communication in all of the three dimensions of life. So, to embrace Mimamsa and Vedanta means to seek a communication model which envisions uh, successful communication in all of the three dimensions of life. Obviously, finally to moksha, but not negating the physical transmission of the message. So if we just focus on moksha only and we don't focus on this artha and kama dimension, then we will be superficial, okay, utopian. So why the very concept of moksha is not an utopia here is its equal emphasis on this artha and kama as well. Equal emphasis on, or pertinent emphasis on, the body and the mind as well. So body is there, which is representation of like this world, physical world. That is why it is called composed of pancha mahabhuta. Then mind is the vibhu, or the master of the body, and then atman is the master of the mind, mono. Okay, and okay, Paramatma and Atma, they are two, just due to creation or lila or like experience, but ultimately they are one. So we can say just three: physical, okay, the mental, and this spiritual. That is why we have said. But sometimes they talk about like sthula, sushma, karana, and turiya as well. That is why, okay, though Bhartihari said Pasyanti, Madhyama, Vaikhari, but the Veda talks about Sattva, Para Pasyanti, Madhyama, Vaikhari. So para is like of that Turiya level, okay. Pasyanti is of that Karana level, and Madhyama is like mind. It is related to mind, and Vaikhari is what is uttered and what is listened, what is heard. This audio thing. This is Vaikhari, and the nature of reality and understanding about knowledge, truth, and error will be primarily shaped by the notion of dharma that consists of adhibhuta, adhidaiva, and adhyatma in a continuum, whereas the ultimate goal of communication must be in congruence with moksha. So, so whenever we take them together, uh, so the definitions for like knowledge, truth, error, all these things will come from dharma. So the proper understanding of dharma will tell us what is the true knowledge, okay, what is the ultimate knowledge, what is the valid knowledge, and what shall be considered truth, and at what level, in what context, and okay, what is error, like there are certain philosophies for them, the creation itself is out of sin or out of dukkha. That is why everywhere there is error only, okay, there is suffering only. And okay, to have like this sukha, this bliss is to escape from this world. But okay, there is this concept of sat chit ananda in Hinduism, okay, it embraces. Actually, if you go to the Vedas, it always, okay, celebrates the physical thing firstly. The very concept of like viewing the world in like negative way, taking this as a source of suffering, all these things, they came from other sources later on. If you read the Vedic rituals, Vedic mantras, So they always celebrate the world. They always celebrate our like mental faculty. What is the matter? They do not limit to that. They celebrate the like world, but but they also emphasize, okay, move on. Not this, move on. Neti, neti, charaiveti, charaiveti. No iti, neti. So, neti, neti. Okay, this world is so good. Let's enjoy. Oh, fire. Yeah, you are so good. Because you save us from cold. Like this, isn't it? In the dark, you show us, okay, the path. You are so good. But don't remain with the physical agni only. Okay, let's move on. Charaiveti, charaiveti. Okay. So, till when? Till when you attain moksha. So every journey, maybe academic journey, okay, mental journey, or even the physical journey, everything that shall be like towards that. If something hinders that, then only that is negative. If something does not hinder that, enjoy that. Enjoy the food, enjoy the water, enjoy the air, enjoy the songs, okay, enjoy the music. So this embracement to the world, this embracement to the body and its properties, that tells us that the very concept of avidya in Vedic context is not with negative connotation. It's just another category. Vidya is the most like uh, attainable, most desirable, the ultimate thing. And the Shastra related to that moksha is uh, termed Vidya, and all others are Avidya, and both embracing Vidya and Avidya shall be there. That means whenever we talk of communication, then we shall be talking about physical transmission of the messages. Then we shall be talking about having communication in a like empathetic way. Two persons trying to understand each other, the whole society trying to understand each other and having this communionship, all these things. And but this is not the whole story. You shall go ahead as well. Then if we go to further from this background, then there is this knowledge matrix. So communication is all about knowledge, isn't it? So when we say in Vedic philosophical schools, the process may be differently envisioned, but okay, they all consider four elements or four components of the knowledge process. One is gyata, which can be roughly translated as knower. Another is gaya, which is object of knowledge. Then gyan karan, that is means of knowledge. And then gyatata, the result of knowing. Okay, actually they do not talk about the uh, knowledge only, but okay, gyatata, what happens with that knowledge. Okay, because knowledge is always okay, it has some alamman, like it shall be pertaining to someone, isn't it? So somebody's mind. So that is why gyatata is mentioned next. Okay, so based on that, in all philosophies there is this prama, pramana, and prameya, this trial. So what is prama? Prama is truth or valid knowledge. Pramana is means of knowledge. Prameya is objects of knowledge. So what was gaya? Here is prameya. Okay. So pramana. So that is here. Now let us see what pramanas actually, what means of knowledge, and what prameya this Mimamsa and Vedanta they consider. In fact, what Kumarila Bhatta considers is accepted by uh, Vedanta, obviously Advaita Vedanta as well. So it is pertinent to go to that. What is the pramana? Okay, Mimamsa philosophy considers following six pramanas. One is pratyaksha, another is anumana. So perception, inference, shabda is word. Okay, word has three dimensions. Okay, common word of the common people, word of the authorities. Okay, acharyas, rishis, or judges, we may say in the legal field. Then okay, and the word of the shruti, Vedas, they will be supreme. Then upamana, comparison or analogy. Arthapati is postulation, circumstantial implication, and anupalabdhi is non-perception or negative or cognitive proof. So I think these are relevant in every branch of knowledge. So this sophisticated pramana system is developed by Kumarila Bhatta, especially in his book Slokavartika. Okay, so the first and foremost will be perception. Whenever we can get information from perception, then it will pervade all others. So sometimes it is called, it is the king of the pramanas. So we go to other pramanas only when there is lack of sufficient perception. If there was lack of perception like 100 years ago, but today due to advent of science and technology, if it is perceptible, then the priority would be given to this, even if like some acharya would have written something at that time, and if it is contrary to like present days technology, what we can like actually uh, establish, then what Kumarila would say, go for the perception. That is why there is little resistance by like Hindus, while there is something, yeah, changed. Okay, so this acceptance for change is due to this primary emphasis on protection. If something is proved in front of us, then yeah, we shall be ready to accept that. Okay, we won't say, okay, in our book it is written like that, our ancestors have written maybe even in Sanskrit. Okay, this thing, but you have some contrary things. We don't go with your okay evidence. We will go for the text. No, this is not the way. In Hinduism, even if something was written, maybe okay, based on available information at that time, he or she might have reached to that conclusion. So there is always chance for verification due to this. And by the way, Charvaka would consider only Pratyaksha, and Buddhists would go to Pratyaksha and Anumana. Okay, and Jaina, they would go to three: Pratyaksha, Anumana, and Sabda. And this is how it goes. Okay, so yeah, so this Mimamsa and Vedanta philosophy, they go to that. And okay, activity is about this. Okay, activity is discussion about the pramanas. So would you like to discuss more on the pramanas? Then you are welcome. And okay, I know in legal field, pramana, okay, they are so important, so significant, so crucial. And then this very concept of pramana is associated with prameya, which is okay mentioned in the next slide. Prameya. So what is prameya? Object of knowledge. What we shall know. So they are divided into five. Dravya, substance. There are 11 dravyas. Jati, that is issue related to generality or specificity, any or whole and parts. Okay, what is how they shall be interrelated. Then, like it was like even in the West, like Plato calls catness and cat. Okay, catness is general, cat is particular. Likewise, here also we have the concept of jati, and which is also called samanya. Okay, whenever we say human being, this is samanya. But when we say, like I'm taking one name, Bhakti Popat, then okay, we go to an individual. So this individuality is the specific thing, and when we say human beings, then that is general. And To understand the world is in fact to understand the general as well as the specific, isn't it? So then guna, there are actually 24 gunas, attributes or quality. Then there is the concept of karma. Karma, okay, karmeti mimamsaka. So for both uh, Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa, karma is very central. And yeah, in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, karma has, okay, that central space too. So karma, bikarma, and akarma. Sri Krishna, okay, mentions and illustrates about them. So we shall always go for karma. We shall always refrain from bikarma. And while doing karma, we shall have the sense of akarma, non-action. Okay. So, okay, so this has the very developed system of karma mimamsa in mimamsa philosophy. So in a way, now if you say athato dharma jigyasa, let us discuss about the dharma and what will be the final thing. Chodana lachana dharma, and that chodana, that persuasion for karma. So in that way, the answer to dharma, that is the manifestation of dharma, is through karma in mimamsa. That is why mimamsa has become so crucial in this physical and social and cultural domain. Obviously, legal domain and, okay, this hermeneutic domain, all these things. This is why, because they have extensive thoughts on this dharma, and by virtue of that, this the process of karma. And then, okay, this is very unique that this non-existent or non-perceptible things are also included, and for that, okay, we have abhava, that pramana. So this is the like pramana prameya system of this mimamsa, both mimamsa. And I haven't gone particularly to extensively to 11 dravyas, 24 gunas, all these things. So there you will find atma, ishwar, okay, dharma, everything. So it is very extensive. So then there is this holistic approach and pursuit of communion. The concept of abhihitanvaya vada is also there, according to the Bhatta school of Mimamsa philosophy, which says, okay, the meaning shall not reside to parts, so you shall get the meaning with the whole. So though it was actually about unit of meaning, not only the word, not only the sentence, but the complete context, but it can be generalized to the society as well. If we want to understand the society, then all ethnic groups, all language groups, okay, like it is very complex in countries like India and Nepal, isn't it? So many languages, so many ethnic groups, so many, okay, cultures, so many customs. Yet as a nation, as the nation, we shall have something in common. So this concept is given by Abhihitanvayavada by Kumarila Bhatta, and, okay, the very concept of Saridayata by Bhattanayaka. Okay, so there is Samanjasya Sukta in Atharvaveda, all these, and the concept of Advaita with special reference to Bhartiya Vakyapariya is also here. So whenever we say Advaita, then the especially in his case, the world becomes the word, and the word becomes the Brahma. Okay, so later on, while discussing Vakyapadya, please do not forget to raise this question: how the world becomes the word, and the word becomes the Brahma. Okay, and the roots of considering the communion is, okay, there are three: Sabda Pramana, Sabdadvaita, and Rasa Continuum. Little bit I have discussed while discussing relevant issues. This will be more discussed while discussing the Sanchar Yoga theory.